Welcome to the latest edition of Modern Medicine with Doc Moylan. I'm Dr. Dave Moylan, and I wear two hats here in Schuylkill County. One as the medical director of the Simon Kramer Cancer Institute, and the other as county coroner for the last 10 years. During my activity as county coroner, I became very familiar with the gift of life, and today I'm so pleased to have two representatives from our regional Gift of Life organization. The first is Mrs. Dwendy Johnson, who has been with the organization for some 20 years, and the other is Mr. Ron Boris, who is a survivor of a heart transplant that was made possible through the efforts of Gift and Life and of people like you out in the audience. So I would like to start off with Dwendy. What can you tell us about your personal background, your connection to the Northeast Pennsylvania, and then tell us a little bit about your work with Gift of Life?
Sure. So I work in the Community Relations Department at Gift of Life Donor Program, but just a little bit of background. I am a daughter of a heart transplant recipient as well. So yeah, just sharing the message, knowing that personally I've had a connection through organ donation, but also now working with Gift of Life, I'm able to share a little bit more about education and the reason why someone should be an organ donor. So Gift of Life is my home to share with the community and how important this message is to raise awareness about the need for donation.
Well, Dwendy, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in southern Pennsylvania, York County, and born and raised in Pennsylvania. So yeah, so we started there, and I ended up working with the National Kidney Foundation prior to coming to Gift of Life. So I knew a little bit about kidney transplants, kidney disease, and then moved on to Gift of Life and knowing the other side of donation and raising more awareness.
Well, tell us a little bit about your family's personal story with your pop.
Yeah, so my dad had struggled in his older age. Actually, he received his heart transplant at the age of 49. And he struggled with cardiomyopathy. At the time, the doctors didn't know what the reason was. They just figured a virus had nestled in his heart muscles, and that he just started to, start getting tired, losing his breath, that type of thing. And we ended up going to Johns Hopkins for an evaluation. And there wasn't too much more they could do. And they said the only thing we could do is put you on a list for a transplant. So he waited only 4 short months, and we received the call for, we had an opportunity to get him a heart transplant. So we've never met our donor. So when I go out and speak and I'm with donor families, I consider them all our donor. My father then was at the time working for Caterpillar Tractor, and so he then came back to work and then finished and retired with Caterpillar Tractor. But he then later worked with me to help raise awareness in schools and share his story about the need for organ donation. And he ended up playing professional golf in his later years. So
what a wonderful story.
The opportunity to have a second chance was really amazing. And it provided us, our family, with additional 20 years with my dad. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any commentary on the statistics as they might apply to our small county of about 150,000 people?
Yeah, so just to kind of share with your audience, that Gift of Life donor program is the largest and busiest organ procurement agency in the country. We actually have 48 of them across the United States. And one thing that we really look at is helping to advocate for those people that are waiting for a transplant. And we know nationwide that there are over 100,000 people waiting for a life-saving organ. But if we bring that closer to our home, we have roughly about 5,000 people within our region. And our region consists of half of Pennsylvania, eastern PA, southern New Jersey, and the state of Delaware. So, and there are a wide range of ages, adults to children, that are waiting for a life-saving organ. So one person today, if they said yes to organ donation, could save the lives of up to 8 people. And then if they gave the gift of tissue, they could help enhance the lives of well over 100 people. So we really need to look at educating our community, supporting people that want to register for organ donation. And we have that opportunity real easy at our website, donorsone.org.
I'm going to shift over to Ron Boris. Ron, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a native of Schuylkill County.
Yes, I'm born and raised here. Went to school for Pottsville and got married. My wife is still here, out in the back here with us.
She's off
Yeah,
camera.
I have a daughter and 3 grandkids. And that's a little brief story about myself, but that was it.
What kind of work did you do, Ron?
I worked for Coroner Aluminum for 27 years.
Yes, that was one of the big employers in our county.
That's correct.
Did you know Mr. Stein?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he was quite a guy.
Very personable.
Yeah.
He knew everybody.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us a little bit about your illness that led to your diagnosis.
Well, in June of '03, I woke up and I ended up having a massive heart attack. They rushed me over to the Pottsville Hospital. They proceeded, got me back stable somewhat. Life flighted me down to Allentown, put stents in. 6 months later, same thing again. I was in the doctor's office then. They said, "How'd you get here?" I said, "My wife drove me here." And next thing you know, it just went downhill then. Actually, what happened was I ended up having that massive heart attack that did so much damage, and they said it was unrepairable.
Did they give you any percentage on how your heart was pumping?
Like about 8 or 9%.
8 or 9%. That's one of the lowest ones I've heard in my clinical career. So how long did you have to wait for the...
I actually had to wait 4.5 years.
4.5 years?
Yes. The biggest problem is I was O positive. So I'm a universal donor. So they give, the heart, and just, you got to wait your turn.
Yeah.
I mean, I had multiple surgeries to keep me alive in that time frame, but.
What type of surgeries?
Well, the major one that I had, they called surgical ventricular restoration. John Hopkins did that. They remodified my heart. And out of that 4.5 years, I had to wait. 3.5 years I waited with that. They remodified my heart. Gave me like a full heart and half a heart.
Yeah.
And that kept me going for 3.5 years, and things started going south, and I had a swan catheter. Then after that, they had to do an LVAD, which was left ventricular assist device that they implanted in me, which means my heart no longer functioned now.
Yes.
It was a mechanical heart that kept me going. And in March, I had a false alarm. They rushed me down there, thought I was going to have, got it, which they tell you there's multiple times that you might run and not get not get a heart, available. And then April, I got the heart transplant.
And that was done at Johns Hopkins?
No,
or?
Hershey.
Hershey.
Everything was done at Hershey, except for that surgery.
Yeah. And how have things been going since then? That was some 12 years ago?
12 years ago, like I said, everything's going good. I got to see my daughter get done high school, college, get married. I have 3 grandkids now, and I have 12 years of good life. And I hope to see many more years of life after this. I mean, everything's going good.
But you also had the virus.
I had the virus back in January of this year, and pneumonia.
Yeah.
And I was in the hospital for 3 days, and everything was fine. They didn't need to put oxygen on me. They just treat me with the medicine they had to do and get me back up on my feet and running, and I was fine until I did a booster.
I think that is just remarkable that you with a heart transplant, survived the Wuhan virus. So, well, what we're going to do now is take a commercial break, and then we'll get back to our topic here of gift to life and how it applies to the citizens of Schuylkill County. Welcome back to Modern Medicine with Doc Moylan. I'm Dr. Dave Moylan, Medical Director of the Simon Kramer Cancer Institute. We're here in our medical library, and we're so fortunate to have with us today Dwendy Johnson of Gift to Life and Mr. Ron Boris, who is a transplant survivor. Before the break, we were talking about your brush with the COVID vaccine, but in general, over the last 12 years, how has your transplant, your heart transplant, changed your life?
It's like I said, it changed my life and enhanced it. It gave me 12 extra years that I wouldn't have ever had. Yep. And it just makes me feel so happy that there's people out there promoting organ tissue donation awareness. And without my hero, right here, his name is Eddie Bates, I wouldn't be here. That's my hero.
Tell us about Eddie.
Eddie is, well, at the time he was 33 years of age. He had a brain aneurysm, which I got to meet the whole family and all. So I'm actually part of their family now. I have to call her mom and everything when I go down to see him. They're from Dover, Delaware, which I was kind of fortunate a year and a half after I got the call and the letter and that I could meet them. And we quick went down to meet him right away. But he's very special, and he told his family he always wanted to be an organ donor. They transported him down to St. Jefferson, and I was in Hershey waiting for my heart. And I started taking a turn for the worse, and so did he, that he was starting to spike a temperature, which means they didn't recover the organ soon. He wouldn't have got anything. Sure. And they talked to the family, and they said his wish, they explained that there was a young man in Hershey waiting for a heart transplant. They didn't know me from Peter or Paul, and they said, let's do it. And he lives through me, and his hobbies and likes were pretty much like me. It's pretty about my height and everything else, weight, and kind of comedian, likes to hunt fish, work with his hands and stuff, and it worked perfect.
Well, that is truly a gift to life.
It really was. Yeah. And just try to tell everybody, please become an organ donor.
As I mentioned before, as county coroner here in Schuylkill, we often interact with families about gift to life donations. But as opposed to Mr. Bates, he was at a major university like Hershey, like Jefferson, University of Pennsylvania. And that group of patients that can donate organs that require vitality to them, the heart, the kidneys, we don't have access to that group of patients here in Schuylkill County, because basically the heart has to still be pumping to the other organs to give them the gift of life of oxygen and nutrients before the tissue can be donated. So unfortunately, we don't have that group of patients here in our county. They may well originate here through automobile accidents or major medical illnesses like an aneurysm in the brain or whatever. But the other group of patients that we see all too often are those that have died suddenly from heart attacks or automobile accidents, and they never made it to get on life support at one of the major trauma centers. Wendy, how can the families of those patients help others?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things to just keep in mind, to stem back a little bit, is that if anyone wants to register to be an organ donor, it's a great opportunity to have that conversation with your family. Let your family know what your wishes are and that you're registered to be an organ donor. But for those patients that you had mentioned, their opportunity to help enhance people's lives through tissue donation, which would be corneas of your eyes to give to people eyesight, skin for burn victims, saphenous veins for heart surgeries in patients. Bypass surgery, correct. Even certain ligaments can be utilized in dental work and ACL replacements. So when we say that could enhance or heal people we're seeing a multitude of people, over 100 people could actually be touched with donations. So you may not particularly save someone through like an organ transplant, but you're enhancing someone's life. A young kid, you know, maybe had an ACL injury that maybe now has to get a transplant, and this could be an opportunity for them to, you know, go back to the sports that they were playing, you know, those type of things. So an opportunity not only with organ donation, you can also provide healing opportunity through tissue donation.
I'm sure a lot of myths spring up about organ donation, and I'm sure you have to confront those on a regular basis. Could you mention some of those and try to dispel the misinformation, if you will?
Yeah, that's what we do quite frequently, and I encourage your listeners to go to our website to learn more about, you know, those type of questions that they may have about organ donation. But usually when we're out and educating the public, one of the most common questions is, I'm involved in an accident, I have organ donation on my license, they're going to stop trying to save me. And we all know that our medical field, our medical experts in hospitals are doing everything possible to save your life. And it's only until all of those have ceased to exist that organ donation then can be an opportunity for someone to give another person a second chance at life.
Yeah.
One of the other ones that are very common is, oh, I'm too old. Being too old, we say there's no age to donation. Anyone can be an organ and or tissue donor. And we encourage them to, if that's their wishes, to, you know, register themselves. In the United States, the oldest donor was 95 years old, and he was able to donate a liver. So, you know, it really is amazing. And as we work with donors in our region, we've had many donors that are well into their 80s.
Ron, have you run into any myths?
Pretty much like what you were saying. They're going to let you know, they're going to die. I can't afford it because I'm not rich. Only the rich and famous. That's farthest from the truth. It's not about money. It's about where you fill in criteria as you become heart, or in my situation, heart or kidney or lung comes available. That's a big myth.
Also, many people think that it's against their religion. All major religions support organ donation. They feel that that's the greatest act of charity and kindness. So they really support the members of their congregation on what they want to do, but the majority of them do support it.
Well, there are donor criteria that have to be met, and we go over that questionnaire with families that are considering this gift of life donation. Can you tell us what type of pre-existing conditions would eliminate somebody from the donation?
Actually, there really isn't any. If someone said, you know, I have high blood pressure, or I have kidney disease, keep in mind that they may be able to donate tissue, or they may not be able to donate that particular organ, but they may be able to donate another organ. So when we're talking about that opportunity, it's right there at the time in the hospital when the family sits down and talks with us. But
are there any infectious diseases that might eliminate them?
Well, particularly during this time of COVID, one thing that we do is we do several tests to determine what type of, if they have any on-stating medical conditions. With COVID, we do a test to determine whether or not they have the COVID.
Yes.
So we review all of that ahead of time to make sure that that organ is healthy and viable for that patient that's waiting on the list.
I guess another potential fear of a donor family might be, would there be any disfiguration of their loved ones' bodies? Yeah,
so for organs, you know, it's very similar to open heart surgery where an incision is made for that, and then those organs are recovered. As far as with tissue, there is a procedure that we go through, and we work with the county coroners and also with funeral homes to help provide an opportunity for the family to have an open casket funeral. So yeah, we tell anyone that is wishing to be an organ donor is to register themselves. Yep.
Also, another concern that was voiced by coroners who are investigating potential homicides, and that's been that concern has been allayed. That this, if a person who might have received trauma as part of a assault, by taking them off the heart-lung machine or whatever, it will not interfere with the ability of law enforcement to prosecute a case. So that was reassuring to many coroners in the field.
Yeah, and we do what we can to help to provide whatever is needed for those investigations.
Well, Ron, if you were going to give some of the viewers advice on this, what would you tell them about the option of donating?
Well, organ donation does work. My biggest thing would be out of this, please become an organ donor. Be a hero like my hero Eddie Bates was for me. By being an organ donor, you're going to save somebody else's life. And you're going to enhance their life and make them feel good too. And they're going to feel good, the family's going to feel good about themselves too. And let your family know you want to be an organ donor, let them know your wishes. So you don't have confusion or debate when it comes down to that major time to make that decision.
Have that conversation.
Yes.
Dwendy, can you, from a practical standpoint, tell our viewers how they would go about registering and communicate, or any documents that have to be completed beforehand, etc.?
Yeah, certainly. So one of the easiest ways is to, when you get your driver's license renewed, at the time that you get your picture taken, there is a question right there at the driver's license center. Yes or no if you want to have the organ designation on your license. So you can do it right there at that time. But oftentimes now with Pennsylvania, we get our license renewed every 4 years. So we may have someone that's listening to this program decide, I want to do it now. And so the opportunity that they have is they can go to our website, which is donors1.org, and they can hit the registration button right at the top right corner, and they can register right there. So it's very, very simple. The other thing is too, is nowadays with our smartphones, anyone that has an iPhone that has the health app on their iPhone, they can go into the health app and then register that way as well. And then the bottom line is, make sure you share your wishes with your family. That's the biggest thing.
Well, it couldn't be any simpler. So again, I, as Schuylkill County Coroner, as a practicing physician in the county, encourage you all to give this a very, very serious consideration to help out the gift of life and help out our fellow brothers and sisters. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you again here on Modern Medicine.